Chosen one. You didn't just wake up at 3:33 a.m. by accident. Heaven orchestrated it. While the world slept, the veil between realms thinned, and your name rose like incense before the throne. At that exact moment when even demons paused to listen, your spirit stirred. Something eternal called to you. Something ancient remembered you. And now you're here, reading this, because you felt it. You knew it. That wasn't a dream. That wasn't a coincidence. That was a calling. When the angels spoke your name at 3:33 a.m., it wasn't casual. It was calculated. It was cosmic. The heavens spoke in code. And your spirit responded. There's a reason your chest tightened. There's a reason you couldn't go back to sleep. Because a window just opened and you've been summoned. You were never like the rest. Your childhood felt different. Your pain was heavier. You saw things others didn't. Heard whispers others missed. You've battled in silence, bled in secret, and kept going when others would have collapsed. And now the message has come for you. This message wasn't crafted in a studio. It was pressed out in fire. Heaven has paused everything to get your attention. Angels are watching now. Demons are trembling now. The scroll has been opened, and your name is written on it. Listen carefully. There is a code sealed into your life. You've noticed the 3:33 pattern too often to ignore it. It's more than a number. It's a trumpet blast in the spirit. A call to arise. A message that says, you were born for more than survival. You were born to disrupt darkness. The angels are not confused. They said your name for a reason. You're not reading this by chance. You were led here, pulled by something holy, directed by divine GPS. The Spirit is beckoning you again, and this time, you must respond. The window is open, but it will not stay open. Heaven does not repeat itself indefinitely. Scripture says in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 27, "My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me. And you, chosen one, have heard his voice, even if you didn't recognize it at first. Your soul did. That tug in your chest, that stirring in your gut, that heat rising behind your eyes, that's him. That's always been him. You've wrestled with confusion. Why me? But deep down, you know the answer, because you were born marked. Marked for war. Marked for worship. Marked for glory. The darkness has tried to silence you. That's why you've been under attack. It's why the anxiety comes suddenly, why depression creeps in like fog, why relationships break, doors close, and silence fills the room when you walk in. Your light disturbs what hides in shadows. You don't blend in because you were never meant to. God didn't make you normal. He made you set apart. When angels spoke your name at 3:33 a.m., it wasn't to make you famous. It was to make you faithful. It wasn't a call to comfort. It was a call to consecration, holiness, power, purpose. You are not like them. You were chosen, and now you must choose. You see, heaven extends invitations, but never forces. The angels called, but it is you who must answer. That moment at 3:33 was not random. It was a divine countdown, a signal that you are now within the response window, a sacred time frame in which obedience has weight, delay has consequence, and silence becomes rebellion. You've had moments before where you felt something greater pulling you, but you let it pass. You rationalized it. This time is different. This is not suggestion. This is a summons. Chosen one. Don't harden your heart. Don't explain it away. That's what the enemy wants. Because if you respond, if you say yes, you will change more than just your life. You will disrupt generations of darkness. You are the one the enemy feared would awaken. And now you're awake. But awakening isn't enough. You must move. You must respond. You must step into the roar of your destiny. You've delayed long enough. Heaven has waited. The earth has groaned. Even the angels are holding their breath. This message will not chase you. This is not entertainment. This is divine interruption. It's time to rise. It's time to walk like the crowned one you are. It's time to act like your name was spoken by fire. So before you scroll away, hear this. You are chosen. You are marked. You are remembered. Heaven is watching. Hell is trembling. The clock is ticking. Comment below. 333. If your spirit knows this message found you right on time. Heaven's timing is never random. You weren't awake at 3:33 a.m. by mistake. That moment quiet, still, and shrouded in mystery was not ordinary. It was the meeting point between the eternal and the temporary. When everything in the natural realm slowed, the supernatural reached through the veil and whispered your name. And in that silence, something within you shifted. You may not have understood it, but your soul recognized it. Heaven doesn't operate on human clocks. Divine movements don't align with your schedule, they align with your surrender. And at 3:33 a.m., when your defenses were low, when your spirit was most available, the call came. The voice didn't need to be loud. It needed to be true. And truth has a sound that echoes in eternity. Think about it. How many times have you brushed off that number? How often have you dismissed the patterns that keep showing up in your life? But something about this time felt different. You felt seen. You felt summoned. And you were right. Because God does not waste time or signs. There is a divine intelligence that orchestrates all things. It is not chaos that guides the stars, nor coincidence that directs your steps. It is purpose, precision, supernatural timing. You didn't wander here, you were drawn. That tug, that urgency, that feeling of, this is for me, none of that is random. That is God's fingerprint on your moment. This is the mystery of being chosen. What looks accidental is actually architectural. The late nights, the tears, the loneliness, they were not wasted. They were scaffolding. God was building something deep inside you. And now that foundation is being tested, awakened, and called forward. There is a season for hiding and a season for revealing. For years, you've been hidden. Not because you were unworthy, but because you were being prepared. God doesn't rush chosen vessels. He molds them, breaks them, refines them in secret. Because what is built in private will be revealed in power. And the call that came at 3:33 a.m., that was the sound of the season shifting. You are now stepping into the thin space where heaven announces its plans. You are crossing the threshold between potential and purpose and time. Yes, even time itself is bending around your obedience. What you do next matters more than you know. Some will never understand this path. They'll say, you're being too intense, too sensitive, too spiritual. Let them speak. They weren't there when the voice called your name. They didn't feel the weight in your chest. They didn't see the light behind your closed eyelids. They didn't wake with that sense of destiny hanging in the air like morning dew. You did, because it was meant for you, chosen one. Your spirit is not responding to empty emotion. It is responding to eternal memory. Something inside you remembers the calling, the promise, the purpose. Before time began, you were appointed. Before your first breath, the heavens already spoke your assignment into existence. And now, in this strange hour, 3:33 a.m., that assignment knocks again. Even angels obey divine timing. When they spoke your name, it was not casual. It was on heaven's schedule. A message was released in the spirit. You didn't hear it with your ears, but your soul heard it clearly. And your awakening at that hour was not insomnia, it was invitation. Let that sink in. You were invited into something heavenly. You didn't earn it. You were chosen for it. And now, every part of your life is aligning with that moment. The signs will increase. The urgency will build. The call will not let you go. Because God's timing is perfect and you are right on schedule. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 14, "Many are called, but few are chosen." You have always been part of the chosen. The timing of heaven is simply revealing it now. Don't underestimate the weight of this hour. Heaven is not early. Heaven is not late. And when the angels whispered your name at 3:33 a.m., eternity announced, "It is time." Oh, that as the heavens move with flawless rhythm, so too does your life begin to unfold according to divine alignment. Every second since that 3:33 a.m. moment has been a countdown toward activation. Don't look back in regret. Look forward in revelation. What was once delayed is now being delivered. What was once silent is now speaking. You are standing at the edge of divine fulfillment, and the wind of heaven is behind you. Breathe it in. Chosen one, you are right on schedule with God. When the angels spoke your name, hell took notice, because your name, chosen one, carries weight in the spirit realm. It is not just syllables and sound, it is a strike against darkness, a weapon forged in the fire of divine intention. Your identity, when spoken by heaven, isn't soft or silent. It's thunder. It shakes gates. It exposes shadows. You've always wondered why you attract resistance. Why? Even when you're trying to be low profile, the atmosphere shifts around you. Why people treat you like a threat, even when you've done nothing wrong. It's not because of what you do, it's because of who you are. When angels speak your name, hell doesn't just notice. Hell trembles. And make no mistake, it wasn't just one angel who whispered at 3:33 a.m. The heavens don't move on whispers alone. Your name was declared, announced, echoed across realms. There are scrolls that carry your identity, assignments that carry your signature. Darkness hoped you'd never find out. But now you're beginning to remember, and that terrifies them. You've been in rooms where you felt opposition without explanation, where people judged you before you said a word, where friends turned cold for no reason. It's not personal, it's prophetic. The spirit realm recognizes marked ones, and you, chosen one, are deeply marked. Your prayers whispered or wept are dangerous. Your worship broken or bold breaks chains. Your obedience delayed or instant triggers movement in heaven. That's why resistance came early. That's why rejection came often. That's why pain found you faster than comfort ever did. Because you carry a threat level that can't be seen with human eyes, but hell sees it clearly. The enemy has studied your lineage. He's tracked your movements. He's tried to sabotage your confidence. Why? Because if you ever truly believed who you were, you'd be unstoppable. And now, bit by bit, that belief is rising. Your identity is more than a concept. It's a calling. And that calling has been activated. You were not just known by heaven, you were named. The same God who called stars by name also called you, and when he did, light responded. Destiny shifted. Demons trembled. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, found in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 1, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." Let that settle in your spirit. You are his. Named, redeemed, set apart. Like a divine arrow pulled back for years. You felt the tension, the pressure, the ache of delay. But now comes the release. Now comes the strike. Because your life wasn't meant to be silent. It was meant to send shockwaves through kingdoms. And yes, the enemy tried to rewrite your story. Through betrayal, through trauma, through labels and lies, and cycles of delay. But he underestimated the God who named you. He underestimated the grace that's been guarding you. He forgot that no matter how many times you fell, you kept getting back up. Chosen one. Your ability to rise is not weakness, it's warfare. Every time you survived, you disrupted hell's agenda. Every time you refused to stay bitter, you broke chains that your bloodline couldn't. And now, heaven is confirming what hell feared. You are awake. The voice that spoke your name at 3:33 a.m. wasn't reminding you of your weakness, it was reminding you of your weapon. Your very identity is an act of war. And when you step into it, the enemy loses territory. That's why you feel the pressure. That's why the enemy tries to exhaust you, distract you, depress you. Because he knows if you walk in the fullness of who you are, chains break, altars fall, generational curses collapse, souls are set free. You are not just chosen to be saved, you are chosen to be dangerous. So if you feel the warfare, it's because hell already heard what heaven said about you. If you feel the resistance, it's because darkness is reacting to your name, echoing through the corridors of eternity. If you feel like giving up, it's because you are right at the edge of activation. Chosen one. The time for hiding is over. The time for shrinking is done. Your name was spoken. And when heaven speaks, creation obeys. Comment. Let hell know. Oh, let that phrase be your prophetic act. It's not for flair, it's a declaration. Because when you choose to walk in who you are, you're not whispering anymore. You're letting the entire kingdom of darkness know you remember your name. You've been hidden, chosen one, and not by accident. For so long, you felt invisible, overlooked in rooms you were meant to lead, ignored by people you were assigned to help, misunderstood, even by those who claimed to love you. But this hiding wasn't rejection, it was protection. Heaven does not reveal what is not yet ready. You were never being punished. You were being preserved. God covers what he crowns. Before David ever held a throne, he was watching sheep, forgotten by his father, uninvited to the table. Yet, even in the pasture, he was seen by heaven. The anointing oil didn't flow for any of his brothers, only for him. Why? Because God does not choose based on appearances or applause. He chooses based on purpose. And you, like David, were set apart in secret. You've looked at others and wondered why their lives moved faster, why their platforms expanded, why they were celebrated while you were silent. But while they were being seen, you were being shaped. While they were building images, you were being built in integrity. And now the season of concealment is lifting. The hidden one is being revealed. But don't despise the hidden years. That was where your roots grew deep, where your discernment sharpened, where your prayers became weapons, where your tears became seeds. Nothing was wasted. The sleepless nights, the silent battles, the moments you questioned if God forgot you. Heaven saw it all, and not one moment passed unnoticed. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 31, verse 20, "In the shelter of your presence, you hide them from all human intrigues. You keep them safe in your dwelling from accusing tongues." Bend. Heaven's hiding is not like man's rejection. When people ignore you, it feels like loss. But when God hides you, it is a strategic pause, a divine delay, because what He's forming inside of you cannot be rushed. You were hidden because your calling is heavy. You were hidden because your voice carries authority. You were hidden because the enemy would have attacked prematurely if you had stepped out too soon. You've walked through doors only to feel invisible. You've poured out wisdom only to be dismissed. But every closed opportunity was heaven whispering, "Not yet." Because to step out before the appointed time is to forfeit the strength that waiting produces. Chosen one. There is strength in obscurity. The kind of strength that doesn't need a stage to feel validated. The kind of confidence that doesn't crumble without applause. That's what God built in you. Deep roots that storms can't shake. And even now, you feel it. The shifting, the lifting, the sensation that something is about to change. That's because it is. What has been concealed is about to be revealed. What has been shaped in shadows will now shine in light. But you won't be stepping forward the same way others do. You won't be driven by ambition. You'll be carried by assignment. There's a purity in you the world wasn't ready for. But now, the world doesn't get a choice. God is calling you forward, not for attention, but for impact. The silence that once felt like punishment will soon be the proof of His preparation. The very places where you felt overlooked will become the stages of your influence. But you'll walk in with peace, not pride, because you remember the hiding. You remember the pruning. You remember who sustained you in the quiet. You've been refined in fire and washed in tears. And those who saw you as weak will soon see the strength that hiding forged in you. But don't let bitterness speak when your moment comes. Let purpose do the talking. Let humility lead the way. Some will try to re-enter your life when your light starts shining. Let God decide who stays. Don't open the doors He shut. Don't resurrect what He buried. You're not going back, you're being brought out. And when you are revealed, it won't be subtle. It will be unmistakable. God doesn't reveal chosen ones quietly. He reveals them with authority, with fire, with confirmation. And everything that tried to mock you in the hidden season will have no choice but to witness the unveiling, because the hidden ones once refined are the most dangerous. And you, chosen one, have been hidden not to be silenced, but to be unleashed. Now, the silence behind you will testify for you every quiet year, Every private tear it was preparing a sound the world cannot ignore. When God reveals what he hid, the earth must make room. This is not a coincidence. This is a prophetic interruption. Heaven has stopped time around you to deliver this message. You didn't just stumble upon these words. You were targeted by divine intention. Right now, in this very moment, the veil is thin. You are standing in a sacred pause where heaven speaks and destinies are recalibrated. Don't scroll past this. You've heard whispers before, but this one is different. It carries weight. You can feel the tension in your chest, the sense that something is trying to awaken, trying to break through years of delay, disappointment, and discouragement. That's because the message is not just for you, it's about you. God is speaking directly to the chosen one inside you, the one who's been buried beneath pain, the one who's gone quiet under pressure, the one who's almost forgotten how to dream. And yet, even now, something sacred is beginning to stir again. Let it rise. There are moments in life that define everything that comes after. This is one of them. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. But it's eternal. The kind of moment where angels lean in and record your response. The kind of moment where all of hell stands still, wondering if you'll recognize the invitation. Chosen one. You are not just hearing a message. You're being interrupted by the voice of God. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live. This is that moment, a decision point, a response window. You've heard the call now. Heaven waits for your move. There's a reason this message found you today. Not tomorrow. Not yesterday. Today. Because something has shifted in the spirit. And what once was tolerated in your life can no longer remain. God is calling you to rise above excuses, above fear, above comfort. You've been held back long enough. And even as you read this, you can feel it. The resistance. The thoughts trying to tell you, this is just another video. But deep down, you know better. You can feel the burn. You can feel the pull. You can feel the unexplainable urgency in your soul. Because this is not entertainment. This is encounter. The angels that spoke your name at 3:33 a.m. are not confused. They were sent. They were dispatched with orders to deliver a message sealed in fire. It's time. And heaven won't wait forever. Let this moment mark you. Let it sink deeper than emotion. This is about transformation, about obedience, about stepping into the identity you've run from for far too long. But let's be real, this is a hard call. Because the moment you say yes to God, everything changes. Relationships shift. Comfort evaporates. Faith is tested. But purpose is born. And you're not alone in this. Others have walked this same path. That's why these messages exist. They are not random content. They are lifelines, beacons, compasses. They are for you and for those like you. And if this message is shaking you, it means you're not just watching, you're awakening. So pause, breathe, and take this in fully. And if this word has pierced you, if something in your soul has stood at attention, then respond in faith. Here's how you can do that. Not out of routine, but reverence. Like this message to confirm in your heart. This was for me. Share it with someone else you know has been wrestling in the dark. You could be the voice that turns their whole life around. Subscribe to stay under the covering of these words. If the Spirit is speaking now, He will speak again, and you'll want to be listening when He does. And if this message reached into a place no one else has, if it lit a fire where only ashes remained, consider sowing into what God is building through this work. Not out of obligation, out of honor. You're not just supporting a message, you're fueling a mission. This isn't just a broadcast. This is a divine disruption. You don't have to respond like everyone else. You just have to respond. Even a whisper of surrender echoes in eternity. Let this moment become a marker in your life. One that you'll look back on and say, everything shifted right there. Oh, don't let it pass you by. Don't silence what's rising inside you. Don't log off and pretend this didn't just ignite something, because it did. And heaven knows it. And you know it too. Chosen one. Respond accordingly. You're not imagining it. You didn't just happen to wake up at 3:33 a.m. over and over again. That moment was encoded with divine meaning. And when your eyes opened at that hour, it wasn't just your body waking up, it was your spirit responding to a signal from heaven. This is the mystery of spiritual alignment. Your soul recognizes what your mind can't explain. The frequency of heaven is not random. The voice of God doesn't speak in human logic. It speaks in moments, in symbols, in signs. And 3:33 a.m. was not merely a time, it was a code, a spiritual seal. And for those who are truly chosen, their spirit responds before their flesh understands. That's what happened to you, and you know it. You've been noticing patterns, timing, confirmations that seem too precise to ignore, glimpses of understanding that make your heart race, numbers that follow you not in paranoia, but in prophecy. You didn't seek this, it sought you. Because when God is trying to get your attention, He won't always shout. Sometimes, He simply repeats. He repeats the number. He repeats the stirring. He repeats the same scripture until you finally pause and say, wait, something's happening. Something is happening. And it's happening now. You've been sealed, chosen, branded in the Spirit by a God who doesn't make mistakes. The moment you woke at 3:33 a.m., the realm of the unseen recognized the marked one is stirring, the one with the oil, the one with the assignment, the one hell hoped would stay asleep. But you didn't stay asleep. You began to ask questions. You began to seek. You began to notice the warfare intensify, and still, you pushed forward. Because even when you doubted yourself, something deeper inside you refused to die. That part of you is the chosen one rising. And when God places His seal on someone, no demon, no delay, no disappointment can remove it. There is a code in the spirit realm that responds to hunger, that responds to obedience, that responds to spiritual sight. And those who have been sealed by heaven begin to live differently. They sense things others ignore. They pray when no one tells them to. They discern shifts in the atmosphere without explanation. That's you. You've always been spiritually sensitive, not emotionally dramatic, but spiritually alert. You've seen things in dreams that later came to pass. You've walked into rooms and felt resistance in the air. You've heard your name in the quiet and felt something bigger watching over you. That wasn't your imagination. That was the evidence of your seal. We find in the book of Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 13, When you believed, you were marked in him with a seal, the promised Holy Spirit. Lend, you were marked, not casually, not weakly, but divinely. The reason you don't fit in is because you were never meant to. The reason compromise makes you feel sick is because your spirit refuses to agree with darkness. The reason small talk exhausts you is because your soul craves depth, fire, and truth. You were designed to carry the weight of the kingdom. And now, that weight is beginning to activate. That seal is beginning to shine. That number 333 is not just a curiosity anymore. It's a banner waving over your life. This one belongs to heaven. And if you've been seeing it repeatedly, it's because you're within the response window. Heaven is tracking your awareness, watching your reaction, waiting to see if you'll take this seriously or casually. Because once a seal is opened, there is no returning to ignorance. That stirring won't go away now. That number will keep showing up. That urgency will increase. Why? Because heaven doesn't drop messages and walk away. Heaven hovers. Heaven waits. Heaven watches. You've been carrying questions that no one around you can answer. You've been experiencing shifts that others dismiss. That's because you're not walking the common path anymore. You're walking the called path, the sealed path, the narrow way. And now it's time to acknowledge it publicly, not for attention, but for activation. Comment 555, because 555 is the number of divine transition. It signals that grace is being released for change. When heaven starts moving fast, those who are sealed must move with it. This is not a delay, it's a divine shift. Let that number be your response. Not for man, for heaven, for yourself. Because some doors don't open until you speak in alignment with what you've seen. You weren't just born, you were assigned. You weren't just called, you were sealed. And now, the code has been activated. You've been asking, why the delay? Why does it feel like you've been circling the same mountain over and over? Why have certain promises remained just out of reach? Why does it feel like breakthrough comes for others while you wait in silence? You haven't lost faith, but the waiting has worn you thin. Here is the truth the Spirit wants you to hear. The delay was divine, not accidental, not punishment, not proof that God forgot you. It was protection. It was orchestration. The delay was not holding you back. It was holding you in place until everything around you aligned with the assignment inside you. God doesn't operate in your impatience. He operates in completion. And there were things inside you that needed to die before the promise could live. That's why the wait has felt like wilderness, because in the wilderness, false identities are stripped, desires are tested, obedience is forged. You didn't know it at the time, but the delay was building a deeper well in you. You know what it's like to fasten your spirit in faith while everything in the natural says, give up. You've had to worship with tears streaming down your face. You've had to keep walking when the fog was thick and the fire felt distant. That wasn't wasted. It was witnessed. The delay was heaven's laboratory. Every minute was filled with strategy. While you were questioning your timeline, God was refining your timing. And now, He's bringing the pieces together. But here's what many don't realize. A delayed promise is often a preserved promise. The longer it waits, the heavier it comes. The more resistance you felt, the more oil it will carry. Because God doesn't give light assignments to heavy vessels. He breaks them in secret and reveals them in fire. as the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk. Chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, it speaks of the end, and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come, and will not delay. You haven't missed it. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You are right on schedule with the kingdom's schedule, not man's. There were doors you wanted to walk through that would have destroyed you if they opened too early. There were relationships you thought you needed that would have drained the very strength God was cultivating in you. What felt like loss was divine prevention. What felt like stagnation was sovereign stillness. Heaven saw what you didn't. Every disappointment that hit you was filtered through the hand of a God who loves you too much to let your destiny be tainted by convenience. That job you didn't get, that person who walked away, that opportunity that dried up at the last second, it all formed part of the delay, and therefore part of the design. Chosen one. Even your no's were sacred. And now you're closer than you've ever been, not just to break through, but to becoming. You're not waiting for something to happen to you. You're becoming someone who can carry what's about to come. That's why the pressure increased. That's why the isolation deepened. The delay wasn't the problem, it was the process. Let that sink in. If God had given you what you asked for when you asked for it, you would have settled for the blessing without becoming the vessel. But now, after the delay, you've been forged, tested, proven, and you're finally ready to not just receive it, but sustain it. Because anyone can be blessed, but not everyone can carry blessing without leaking. You're not who you were when this started. Look back. Look at the resilience, the clarity, the depth, the way your spirit recognizes truth quicker now, the way your worship has weight. You've outgrown the version of yourself that first prayed for this. So don't curse the delay. Bless it. Bless the silence. Bless the unanswered prayers. Bless the detours. Because they all submitted to God's timing even when you didn't understand it. Your steps were never random. Your path was never forgotten. Your future is not fragile. And this next move will make sense of every waiting season behind you. What's about to open didn't come early because it couldn't. You weren't just being positioned. You were being perfected. The delay was not a denial. It was a divine setup. And now, you're ready. Heaven didn't forget you. It was building around you. Every moment is now converging. What seemed paused is about to pour, suddenly pressed down, sharpen, overflowing. There is a weight on this moment because the next step you take carries eternal consequence. You stand now between two realms, one ruled by fear, comfort, and compromise, and another governed by obedience, fire, and divine purpose. And the choice before you is not small. It is not emotional. It is spiritual, because heaven is watching. And the next move you make will echo longer than you realize. This is not about options. It's about obedience. You've come too far to play casual with destiny. You've endured too much to take this lightly. Heaven didn't bring you through that fire, that wilderness, that delay, that refining, just so you could choose what's convenient now. No, this is the moment where everything shifts. And yes, it will cost you. Real obedience always does. The path of the chosen isn't paved in applause, it's paved in surrender. Every yes you give to God chips away at the false identities you've worn. It silences the opinions that once ruled you. It cuts away the compromise that once felt comfortable, because obedience is not about how you feel, it's about what you carry. What you carry, chosen one, is heavy, holy, sacred, and it cannot survive in a half-committed life. You already know what God is asking of you. Maybe not the full picture, but enough to feel the tension. Enough to know that certain conversations, environments, habits, and compromises can't follow you where you're going. That's why there's pressure. That's why you feel this tightening in your spirit, because obedience is being summoned. But let's be clear, this is not behavior modification. This is alignment. The call isn't just to stop doing bad things. It's to start moving in divine rhythm, to live from the Spirit, not the flesh, to walk in the cadence of heaven, not the comfort of the crowd. And that kind of obedience can't be faked. It flows from surrender, as the voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 19, verse 5. Now, if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession. In Zal, there is no partial surrender. There is no halfway holiness. There is no diluted fire. You are either all in, or you are delayed by your own hesitation. And let's be honest, hesitation has cost you before. There were windows you missed because you waited for clarity when God was asking for trust. Doors that didn't open because fear spoke louder than faith. Delays that were self-inflicted, not because God wasn't ready, but because you weren't obedient. But this moment, this holy moment, is not for regret. It's for realignment. Heaven doesn't bring conviction to shame you. It brings conviction to rescue you, to reach into your hesitation and pull you out, to remind you that it's not too late, but it is time. And if you ignore this call, you'll start to lose sensitivity to it. That's the danger of delayed obedience. It dulls discernment. You stop noticing the shift. You stop feeling the weight. You start calling disobedience waiting on God. But heaven knows the truth. Heaven sees the war between your convenience and your calling. And while grace has covered you thus far, grace does not remove responsibility. There is mercy in the warning. There is love in the conviction. But the time to respond is now. This isn't fear, it's urgency. Not panic, but prophetic pressure. Because obedience doesn't just affect your life. It affects those connected to your obedience. There are people on the other side of your yes. Generations tied to your breakthrough. Movements connected to your surrender. You don't see it all now, but you will. And when you stand in that place of fulfillment, you'll understand why the price was so high, why the call was so clear, why the warfare was so intense. Because obedience was never just about you. It was about who you were called to release. Chosen one. This is not the season for rebellion. This is not the hour to entertain double lives. This is the place where you either choose the cross or chase the crowd. There is no in-between. The Holy Spirit isn't just hovering anymore. He's pressing, he's confronting, and he's doing it because something eternal is waiting on the other side of your response. You are standing at the fork in the road. One way leads to compromise, confusion, and spiritual stagnation. The other leads to clarity, fire, and unstoppable purpose. The road of obedience is narrow, but it's worth it. Because what you sacrifice now cannot compare to what you're about to unlock. Choose quickly. Choose fully. Choose Him. Chosen one. You are the interruption. You are the divine detour in a family line headed for destruction. The curse breaker. The one who said, "It stops with me." And even if you didn't say it out loud, heaven heard it when you kept going after everyone else gave up. When you decided to pray, even when no one prayed for you. When you forgave what should have broken you. When you stayed, not out of fear, but out of faith. You are the one hell feared would wake up. And now you're awake. There is a holy weight on your life. Not because of how perfect you are, but because of what you carry. Others ran from the call. You've wrestled with it, but you didn't run. Others compromised. You stood in the tension. And while you don't always feel strong, strength isn't proven in the absence of fear. It's revealed in the refusal to quit. You were never meant to blend in. You were sent to break through. That's why the battles have been generational. That's why the warfare doesn't match your age or your circumstances. Because you're fighting wars your ancestors couldn't win. You've been graced to destroy what others merely endured. And that grace hasn't come without cost. You've paid in tears. You've paid in silence. You've paid in spiritual exhaustion. But God has seen every moment, every breakdown that turned into breakthrough. Every night you wanted to walk away but chose worship instead. Every moment you said, yes. When your flesh screamed, no. This is the call of the bloodline breaker, the one chosen to shift the future of generations not yet born. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse 7, the righteous lead blameless lives, blessed are their children after them. Let that truth settle in your spirit. Your obedience is planting seeds. Your descendants will harvest. Your purity is building altars your children will stand on. Your yes is shaking chains that go back centuries. This is why you couldn't fit in. Why certain patterns disgust you. Why you've walked away from things others celebrated. The Holy Spirit has been setting you apart, cutting ties with cycles you didn't start, but refused to continue. This is more than personal. It's prophetic. The enemy doesn't fear you because of your talent. He fears you because you're surrendered, because you have the audacity to stay consecrated in a culture obsessed with compromise, because you open your mouth and heaven responds, because your very life is a contradiction to darkness. You carry fire in your words, light in your eyes, and authority in your worship. You're not just fighting for your peace, you're protecting a future. And the weight feels heavy because the assignment is generational. Chosen one. When you stood up, the heavens recorded it. When you walked away from familiar sin, angels marked it. And when you said, no more, all of hell heard it. And they're hoping you'll forget who you are. But today, you're remembering. You were born to be the exception, the one who walks in freedom while others stay bound, the one who chooses legacy over likes, the one who says yes to a cross that others mock. And that cross is your crown. Your life is not small. Your story is not wasted. Every ounce of pain has purpose. Every moment of delay was development. Every betrayal became a classroom. And now, the clarity is coming. Your hands were made for building altars. Your voice was made to restore ruins. Your presence in this generation is not a mistake. It's divine design. So stand. Stand when it's heavy. Stand when it's lonely. Stand when it costs you everything. Because you are the one who shifts the narrative, the one who breaks the silence, the one who opens the prison doors for those behind you. This is legacy work, and heaven has trusted you with it. Comment: it ends here. Let those 3 words be your war cry. When you type them, you're not just making a statement, you're drawing a bloodline in the spirit. You're declaring to every generational curse, every inherited fear, every silent trauma passed down like tradition, it ends with me. Not with your children, not with the next generation. With you. You are the stop sign. Hell didn't see coming, and legacy begins the moment you choose to say it. Let the kingdom of darkness witness your decision. Let heaven record your agreement. Let every seed of bondage know its expiration date just got written by your hand, by your faith, by your fire. Chosen one. You're not walking alone. There is a presence that surrounds you, quiet, invisible, but fiercely active. You may not have seen them, but they've seen you. The angels, the heavenly host assigned to your path, your protection, and your purpose. You felt their nearness before in the moments you should have lost control but didn't. In the times you should have crashed but were held up. In the nights you cried, but peace came anyway. You're not lucky. You're guarded. You've been walking under divine surveillance, not from a distance, but intimately, strategically. You weren't saved by chance. You were covered by command. There were accidents that didn't happen, attacks that were cancelled, words spoken against you that never reached, doors you didn't know to close that God slammed shut for you. This wasn't coincidence. It was angelic intervention. You have heaven's army surrounding your every step. It's written in the 2nd book of Kings, chapter 6, verse 16. Don't be afraid. The prophet answered, those who are with us are more than those who are with them. You don't see it, but it's real. You're outnumbered in the natural, but outmatched in the spirit. Because with every chosen one comes a heavenly assignment, an entourage of angels who move at God's word, not your emotions. Some of them have warred for you when you were spiritually asleep. Some stood between you and what hell had planned. Some hovered in silence as you wept, holding back forces that would have swallowed you. And through it all, they've been waiting for this exact moment for you to step into alignment. Because when you align with heaven's plan, your angelic backing doesn't just protect it, activates. You've wondered why the pressure increased, why the enemy seemed to attack harder after you started seeking God more seriously. It's because the angels didn't just watch you awaken, they moved when you did. They responded to the rising authority in your life. And as your spirit began to recognize its assignment, the resistance intensified. But what the enemy didn't account for was how many were with you. You're not just chosen, you're covered, assigned, surrounded. There is fire on your right and glory on your left. Messengers before you, warriors behind you. And even now, your name is known in heaven's ranks. The very fact that you're reading this means your activation has begun. Your angelic support has been positioned, and what felt like stillness was really set up. But here's the truth. Angels respond to obedience. They are not sent to decorate your journey. They are dispatched to partner with your purpose. And the more you move in surrender, the more they are released on your behalf. That's why alignment matters. That's why your purity matters. That's why you can't stay distracted, discouraged, or disobedient anymore. Because heaven doesn't waste troops on empty vessels. You've been entrusted with support because you've been appointed for impact. And impact requires agreement. This message found you because God wanted you reminded, not just of your value, but of your backing. You are not fragile. You are not outnumbered. You are not forgotten. And this isn't just motivation, it's confirmation. Chosen one. You are dangerous to darkness, and heaven has made arrangements to ensure you fulfill every word written over your life. Now more than ever, it's time to stay close. Stay under the flow of messages that fuel your spirit. If this word confirms what you've been sensing, take a step of alignment. Like this message as a sign of agreement. It may seem simple, but even digital acts carry weight when they're done in faith. Let it be your Amen, your yes to what heaven just confirmed over you. Share it with someone who's been walking through quiet battles. You never know whose flame is flickering. Your obedience to share could be the breath that brings their fire back to life. Subscribe so you don't walk alone. This isn't just a message, it's a movement. And when heaven is speaking, you want to stay under the sound. Let your spirit stay connected to what God is unfolding here. And if this ministry has been a lifeline to you, if it's been food to your soul in a season of spiritual famine, consider sowing back into it. Not from pressure, from honor. What you honor grows. What you sow into strengthens. And when you give into holy ground, heaven marks it. This space was created for the remnant, for the chosen, for you and your support, whether through engagement, sharing, or sowing, keeps the fire burning for others to find their way home. You've been walking with angels your whole life. But now they're moving at a new speed because your life is stepping into a new level. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget who's with you. Don't forget the cost, and don't miss the covering. Chosen one. You're surrounded, and you are not walking into the next chapter alone. There is a reason your nights have felt different. You try to sleep, but something lingers in the atmosphere. You've seen things, felt things. Sometimes it's heaviness. Sometimes it's a presence. Sometimes it's as if you're caught between sleep and spirit. Body frozen. Mind alert. Soul wide open. This is not just fatigue or imagination. This is spiritual warfare, and your dreams have become the battleground. When you were marked as chosen, the war against you didn't wait for daylight. Darkness wages its fiercest campaigns at night, when your guard is down and your spirit is most sensitive. It knows your dreams are a gateway, and if it can't reach you when you're awake, it will try when you're resting. But what the enemy underestimated is this: your dream life is not unguarded. It's watched. You're not just sleeping. You're being trained. You're not just dreaming. You're being shown things that others aren't allowed to see. The warfare you experience at night is a consequence of your calling. And while others brush it off as strange dreams or random restlessness, you know better. Deep down, you feel it. You've seen symbols, faces, rooms you've never been in, warnings, confirmations, prophetic messages wrapped in imagery too precise to ignore. Your bed has become an altar. Your sleep has become a sanctuary. And your rest is under attack, not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous when fully awakened. The enemy knows he can't stop what's written over you. So he aims to exhaust you, to disturb your rhythm, to infiltrate your rest. Because a tired warrior is a vulnerable one. A spiritually fatigued soldier is less likely to discern and more likely to tolerate. But God is not silent in the night. The Spirit often speaks most clearly when everything else is still. That's why He gives you dreams that linger into the morning. That's why you wake with words echoing in your soul. That's why sometimes You know what's coming before it arrives, because heaven briefed you while you were asleep. We are reminded through the writings of Job, chapter 33, verses 15 and 16, in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on people as they slumber in their beds, he may speak in their ears and terrify them with warnings. Oh, God doesn't just speak in church services. He speaks in the shadows, and to the chosen. He gives dreams that are not for escape, but for equipping. Your dreams aren't random. Some are warnings. Some are blueprints. Some are reflections of what you're fighting in the unseen. If you've ever woken up mid-dream, heart racing, or crying without knowing why, pay attention. Your spirit may be remembering what your mind can't yet articulate. This is why you must guard your sleep. Your nighttime environment is a battlefield. This is why purity matters not just in public, but in private. Because what you consume during the day, you carry into the night. And the more you walk in obedience, the more sensitive your spirit becomes. It's not paranoia, it's perception. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't ignore what you've felt, because the veil is thinner for you. That's part of the cost of being chosen. Even now, some of your most intense battles haven't come from people. They've come from shadows. You've fought things in silence that others wouldn't understand. You've experienced sleep paralysis, strange interruptions, unexplainable fears at 3 a.m., not because you're unstable, but because you're awakening. And your awakening is a threat. Sonu, chosen one. You're not crazy. You're called. You're not tormented. You're trained. You're not under attack because you're weak. You're under attack because your dreams are becoming dangerous. God is sharpening your spiritual senses. And with that comes exposure. He's showing you what others can't see, so you'll say what others are afraid to speak. But with insight comes responsibility. And now, you must learn to war differently. Your bedtime is not just rest, it's revelation. Your dreams are not just images, they're intelligence. So pray before you sleep. Guard your atmosphere. Clean your spirit. Close open doors. Cancel access. Because the dreams of the chosen are not playthings, they are strategies from heaven or attacks from hell. And you need discernment to tell the difference. You are not alone in your room. You are not defenseless in the dark. Heaven sees you. Angels surround you. The Spirit speaks. So don't despise your dreams. Don't silence what you saw. Don't ignore what you feel. You're not losing your mind. You're learning how to hear in the night. Not every eye sees you, but every realm knows you. You walk through the world like anyone else, head down, heart guarded, but in the Spirit. Your presence sends out signals, invisible shifts, ripples, disturbances, because you don't just carry light. Chosen one, you are light. And wherever you go, darkness loses ground. You felt it. That sense of tension when you enter a room, the sudden shift in energy, the long stares, the fake smiles, the subtle resistance. You've questioned yourself, wondering if it was all in your head, but it wasn't. What you're sensing is real. The unseen realm recognizes you. Even when people don't, you are a living letter from heaven, a message wrapped in flesh and marked by fire. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, 2nd chapter, 3rd verse, you show that you are a letter from Christ, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God. not on tablets of stone, but on tablets of human hearts. N. You were written into time with divine intention. You were sent as a sign, not just to the world around you, but to the powers and principalities that operate behind it. Your life is not passive, it is prophetic. Every step you take, every decision to stay holy, every refusal to settle, is a declaration. Heaven has placed me here. You are not reacting to the world, you are sent to it. That's why you've never fully fit in, why the small talk never satisfied you, why every job, relationship, and routine that wasn't built in alignment with heaven left you feeling empty. It's not that you're too much, it's that the world around you is operating in too little. And now that your eyes are open, the weight of this realization can feel lonely. But take comfort in this. You are not the only one. There is a remnant scattered across the nations, awakened in the night, burning in silence just like you. They see the patterns, they feel the urgency, they hear the call, and one by one, they are rising. Some of them found this message today, just like you. That's not an accident. It's alignment. Because the ones who were written into the earth like scrolls are being unsealed now, revealed now, activated now. You don't need permission to carry fire. You were born with it. You don't need to announce your calling. Your presence is already proclaiming it. You don't need to force your voice into places God hasn't assigned you. He will open the scroll at the right time. And when He does, the world will read you clearly. You've been through too much to think it was random. The tears, the dreams, the warfare, the disappointments, the almosts, the narrow escapes. All of it was preparation. All of it was part of the letter being written. Chosen one. You don't carry a message. You are the message. That's why you've had to stay hidden. Why the silence stretched longer than you expected. Why God didn't let you get comfortable in compromise. Because when He reveals you, it won't be subtle. It will be sovereign. You were not written to be ignored. You were written to be read aloud by heaven and by hell. And you can feel the page turning. You are standing in a moment of unveiling. Heaven is pulling back the veil, line by line, layer by layer, not for attention, but for impact. Because when your life comes into full clarity, those around you will no longer see your past. They'll read your purpose. Your scars are not shame. They are sentences. Your survival is not random. It is revelation. Your name was not whispered. It was inscribed. So now the question is simple. Will you stay folded up in fear? Or will you let your life be opened? Read and fulfilled. The scroll has already been written. The only thing left is your agreement. Comment 1111, because 1111 is the number of alignment and activation, a sign that heaven's timing and your purpose are colliding. When you type that number, you're not just agreeing with this message, you're confirming to the heavens, I am the letter, and I'm ready to be read. Let your life speak what your words cannot. Let your agreement unlock what your waiting never could. Let every principality know the scroll has been opened. The silence is breaking. And the chosen one has stepped forward. You are not hidden anymore. You are read aloud. And the earth must respond. You were never meant to just receive messages. You were born to be one. From the moment you drew breath, the atmosphere began recording not just your movements, but your weight, your spiritual presence. You were born with words embedded in your DNA, heaven-inked lines of purpose, written before time began. Now, awakening inside your bones, you are not merely a vessel of hope, you are a living prophecy in motion. That's why nothing in your life has been random. Even the chaos has served the scroll. Even the pain has helped shape the message. Even the betrayal, the detours, the delays. God used every chapter to carve the shape of your assignment. And now, it is time to walk like it. You've tried to explain your journey to others, but they've looked at you with blank eyes. That's because what you carry can't be understood by the natural mind. You've felt the isolation of being too much, the heaviness of discernment, the grief of seeing what others celebrate, and knowing it leads to destruction. But that burden wasn't a curse, it was confirmation. You are a divine letter sealed in fire. Your words matter because they've come through warfare. Your silence carries weight because it has been tested in the fire of restraint. Your obedience matters because it has cost you everything the world values. You've asked God, "Why me?" But what you really meant was, "Why still me? Why the constant pressure? Why the repeated spiritual alerts? Why the same message showing up in different forms over and over again?" Because heaven refuses to let you forget what was written over you. The message that is your life was never meant to sit dormant. You've tried to hide it, to downplay it, to bury it under logic and plans and fear. But like fire in your bones, it rises again. That is the signature of being chosen. You can't escape the scroll. Even when you try to walk away, it burns behind your ribs until you return. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 20, verse 9. His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. That fire is your confirmation. That inability to settle down is your sign. You weren't designed for containment. You were designed for confrontation, for clarity, for calling. You are a divine dispatch into a world that forgot how to hear God. And your very existence is a reminder that He still speaks. He speaks through your survival. He speaks through your purity. He speaks through your refusal to bow. You've been sent, not to entertain, but to interrupt. Your presence is not passive. It agitates what is fake. It convicts what is compromised. It confirms what is holy. And that's why some can't stand you, but can't stop watching you. You carry what cannot be copied, authentic fire. Let the world say what it wants. Let the crowd label you. Let them mock your sensitivity, your depth, your extra. And it's only because they've never known the weight of being written into the earth by God Himself. You are not extra. You are entrusted. You were sent into this generation as a sentence in the mouth of God. Our walking word, a walking warning, a walking wonder. And now, the time of silence is ending. The envelope is opening. The seal is breaking. And what has been hidden is being read aloud, not just by people, but by the spirit realm itself. Heaven is declaring your unveiling, and hell is bracing for your emergence. But take this to heart. Your unveiling is not about applause, it's about assignment. You are being made visible because your visibility serves victory. For someone else, for a region, for a bloodline, for a remnant that needed someone to go first. You are the yes someone else is waiting for. You are the voice someone else has been crying for. You are the letter someone else must read. to remember that God is still writing. So don't shrink back. Don't soften the message. Don't sanitize the fire. Let it burn. Let it speak. Let it echo. You are not just called to hear a message. You are the message. And now, the world is listening. So, speak with fire. Walk with weight. Stand with clarity. You are God's living scroll. And heaven is turning the page. Don't hold back. You were written to be read. Time is not endless. Heaven moves in rhythms, cycles, seasons, divine openings. And just as doors open, they also close. Just as windows invite response, they eventually seal. This is not spoken to produce fear, but sobriety. You're not just navigating life, you're moving through divine timing, and the current window is not infinite. There's a sacred weight to time that most ignore, but you can feel it. You always have. You know when something is more than coincidence. You know when there's a shift in the atmosphere. You can sense when your spirit is on edge, not because of anxiety, but because heaven is leaning in. That's where you are now. A holy moment, a divine summons. A window is open, and that means a choice is required. Not later, not someday, now. Because the most dangerous lie whispered to the chosen is this: you have more time. End of. More time to obey. More time to surrender. More time to repent. More time to get serious. But time is not yours to stretch. It is God's to give. And when He opens a window, that opening is holy, sacred, urgent. And when that window closes, it does not always reopen. The people of Noah's day ignored the warning. They mocked the messenger, laughed at the ark, minimized the word, until the rain came, until the door closed, until mercy stepped back, and judgment entered. Chosen one. This is not fear-mongering. This is divine mercy, speaking plainly. You have been sensing a shift. Because there is one. You have been feeling urgency. Because you're supposed to. And the weight pressing against your heart is not emotional, it's eternal. Heaven is calling, and delay is no longer safe. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 55, verse 6. Seek the Lord while He may be found. Call on Him while He is near. And that verse implies what many don't want to accept. There is a time when He will not be found. There is a moment when He is near, and when that moment passes, all the explanations in the world cannot reopen what your disobedience closed. You may feel like you've had these chances before, and you have, but this one is different. This is not a repeat. This is a finalization. This isn't another emotional moment, it's a spiritual checkpoint. You are standing in a thin place, a fragile space between what was and what could be. And if you delay now, you may not just miss opportunity, you may lose clarity. Because one of the silent judgments of heaven is when God stops speaking, when He gives you over to the desires of your heart, when He allows you to walk away from fire and into familiar darkness. The most terrifying thing is not God's discipline, it's His silence. There are no guarantees that you'll feel this same pull tomorrow, that the message will hit as hard next week, that your heart will still burn in the same way next month. The window is now, the door is open, and heaven is holding its breath for your response. And yes, your life will still look normal if you ignore this. You'll still eat, still sleep, still work. But something in you will shift. and not for the better. Your discernment will dull. Your sensitivity will fade. And the voice that once stirred your spirit will sound more like memory than presence. You'll remember what you felt today, but wonder why you can't feel it anymore. Don't let that happen. There are seasons of mercy that do not last forever. Not because God is cruel, but because God is just. He is holy. He is not a background voice in your life. He is the King. And when the King speaks, silence is disobedience. You were not born to live casually with a holy calling. You were not rescued from hell to blend in with the crowd. You were not awakened at 3:33 a.m. to hit snooze on destiny. You were summoned, called, pulled out of the noise for a moment of divine reckoning. And now it is here. This is the hour to decide. Not by emotion, but by conviction. Not by pressure, but by purpose. The mercy of God is beautiful. But when mercy is resisted long enough, it makes way for consequence. And some consequences are not reversed, only redeemed. Don't trade eternal assignment for temporary comfort. Don't assume the window will still be open when you're finally ready. This is not about readiness, it's about recognition. You know what this moment is. Your spirit knows. Heaven knows. The only question is whether you will say yes before the veil closes. The greatest threat to hell is not a perfect person. It's a submitted one, not the loudest voice, not the most visible life, but the one who said yes even when it hurt, the one who obeyed even when it didn't make sense, the one who kept walking even when the wilderness stretched longer than expected. That one, that's the one the kingdom of darkness fears. Chosen one. That one is you. You felt the war intensify in this season, not because you've done something wrong, but because you've finally started doing things right. The moment you whispered yes to heaven, hell activated plans to silence you, to discourage you, to distract you, because obedience is the loudest threat to every assignment of darkness. Hell doesn't fear your name. It fears your yes. That's why the pressure increased. That's why you've been under unusual resistance. That's why the attacks have become more specific, more personal, more relentless. But here's what the enemy didn't account for. You didn't just survive the battle. You became dangerous because of it. You see clearer now. You worship differently. You speak with authority. You stand without apology. Because through every storm, every delay, every spiritual ambush, you learned how to hold your ground. You learned how to hear God in the silence. You learned how to fight in the dark. And most importantly, you learned how to obey when no one else was watching. That obedience, it's a weapon. When God whispers, move, and you do it, shakes foundations. When he says, release it, and you release it, shifts atmospheres. When he says, say nothing, and you stay silent, it closes demonic doors. You're not obeying out of fear. You're obeying because you understand. This is war. The assignment on your life carries weight. So your obedience carries consequences in heaven and in hell. But here's the beauty. Heaven always backs obedience. It doesn't always look flashy. It doesn't always come with applause. But it comes with power. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 23, anyone who loves me will obey my teaching. My Father will love them, and we will come and make our home with them. That's what happens when you say yes. You don't just follow God, you host him. You become a dwelling place for his presence. And when you walk into rooms, you carry more than yourself. You carry heaven's authority. That's why this message found you today. Heaven is honoring your obedience, and at the same time, heaven is increasing its demand on your yes. This next chapter will require deeper surrender, sharper discernment, greater alignment, and you won't be able to carry it lightly, because you're not just stepping into destiny, you're stepping into impact, into a life that causes ripple effects in the spirit, into a voice that breaks strongholds, into footsteps that crush serpents without hesitation. Chosen one. If this word is confirming what your spirit has already felt, pause and respond. Let your faith rise, not just in feeling, but in action. Like this message to mark your agreement. It's not about boosting a post, it's about sealing a prophetic word. When you respond, heaven records it. Let your like be your quiet, deliberate yes to what the Spirit just activated inside you. Share it with someone who's been in the trenches. They may not tell you they're struggling, but your obedience to share could be the breath that revives their fight. Don't underestimate the reach of one act led by the Spirit. Subscribe if you haven't. This is more than content. It's a stream of prophetic release for the remnant. Don't just pass by what's feeding your spirit. Stay connected to what heaven keeps using to awaken you. There's more coming. Comment below. My yes stands. Let those 3 words echo in the spirit realm. You're not typing for attention, you're making a declaration. You're saying, no matter the cost, I will obey. And when you say it, all of hell hears it. And if this ministry has become oil in your wilderness, water in your drought, consider sowing back into it, not out of pressure, but out of revelation. You're not just giving, you're fueling fire for others to be awakened. What you honor, you empower. And what you sow into, God multiplies. You're not just a viewer, you're a vessel. You're not just a listener, you're activated. And your yes is shaking the unseen. Chosen one. Let obedience remain your answer, even when it's costly. Because your yes is not small, it is a sword. And when you raise it, kingdoms shift. You're not called to survive the system. You're called to interrupt it. The world is moving fast, but in the wrong direction. What once was hidden is now proudly celebrated. What was shameful is now praised. The moral compass of the culture is shattered, and chaos parades as freedom. But in the midst of the noise, God raises disruptors not to fit in, but to confront. That's why you can't go along with it. That's why you've always felt the discomfort, the misalignment, the tension in your spirit when everyone around you claps for what heaven mourns. You weren't wired to accept what's broken. You were created to stand in the gap. And for that reason, you've been through fire. The fire didn't just purify you, it separated you. It burned off the need for applause. It exposed what was fake and revealed what was eternal. It stripped away the noise so you could hear clearly. Because heaven can't use a diluted vessel to bring a confrontational word, you were forged for this. You don't walk in the room to mirror it. You walk in the room to shift it. You don't carry surface charisma. You carry weight, the kind that stirs conviction, the kind that calls people higher. But here's the cost. This mantle comes with misunderstanding. People will mislabel your passion as arrogance. They will confuse your obedience for rebellion. They will mock your standards. They will challenge your silence. But what they fail to see is what heaven sees: a yielded vessel with fire in their bones and eternity in their voice. And the system hates that. the religious system, the cultural system, the demonic system that thrives on compromise and applauds lukewarm living. These systems don't mind a quiet Christian. They don't mind watered-down faith. They don't mind church attendance without transformation. But they fear those who live like you, set apart, surrendered, unwilling to bow to the altars of relevance and performance. You don't need to be liked to be anointed. You don't need to be understood to be effective. God didn't call you to blend in. He called you to be a line in the sand, a voice that reminds the earth what heaven still values, a life that makes compromise uncomfortable, a presence that confronts without even speaking. That's what disruptors carry. That's why the warfare has been relentless, because when systems are threatened, spirits manifest. You've seen it happen. The room grows tense. The conversation shifts. People get defensive before you even speak. That's because the spirit realm already recognized what you carry, even when you try to downplay it. But you weren't sent here to lower the temperature. You were sent here to light fires. And fire doesn't apologize. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 2. The angel of the Lord appeared in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that, though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. Just like Moses, you are a burning bush in this generation, unconsumed, uncompromised, unexplainable. And your fire is not fueled by performance, it's sustained by presence. That's why God pulled you aside. That's why He didn't let your name rise too fast. That's why He blocked doors and delayed stages. Because what He's placing on you isn't for entertainment, it's for intervention. You're not here to trend. You're here to turn tables. You're here to say what others are afraid to say. To do what others are too entangled to do. To live in a way that reminds people who God is. Not the God of comfort, but the God of confrontation, the God who flips tables in temples, the God who rebukes storms, casts out demons, and walks into tombs and calls dead things back to life. That's the God who called you. So don't shrink to fit their expectations. Don't dim your light to make their darkness comfortable. Don't water down your words to avoid rejection. You were sent to interrupt patterns, to shift atmospheres, to break cycles, to expose idols, to ignite reform, to call forth the remnant, to remind the system it can't contain God. So walk in full boldness, not arrogance, but awareness, not rebellion, but righteous resistance, not noise, but holy confrontation. Because this isn't about rebellion, it's about redirection. God is re-establishing His standards through those He's refined in secret, through voices like yours, through lives like yours, through fire starters like you. You are not a reaction to the system. You are a response from heaven. And when you step into rooms, the system shakes not because of you, but because of the one who sent you. There is a shift that doesn't come through effort. It comes through permission. Not permission from others, not even from yourself, but permission from heaven, already granted, awaiting only your response. This is not the season where you keep waiting to be validated. This is the season where heaven has already spoken, and now it's your turn to move. You've been prepared in private long enough. You've circled the same confirmations, heard the same prophetic phrases, seen the same numbers, felt the same spiritual heat building in your bones, and yet you've hesitated not because you lack faith, but because of the weight of what's at stake. That's what makes you different. You don't play with glory. You don't casually step into what others rush toward. You count the cost. You pray. You tremble. You wait for peace. And that's what qualifies you. But now, peace has come. The trembling isn't fear anymore. It's the power of release. The time for preparation has not been wasted. But it is complete. What was hidden has matured. What was planted has taken root. And now, it's not about whether you're ready. It's about whether you're willing. You don't need another sign. You are the sign. The ancient words recorded in Romans, chapter 8, verse 19 still echo today. For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. And that word, revealed, is not casual. It means unveiled. It means made public. It means the private ones are being placed. Heaven is not looking for celebrities. It's looking for true sons and daughters. Not performers, not influencers, not imitators, but those who have been refined by obscurity, tested by silence, and anointed through surrender. That's you. You are the answer to prayers you never heard, the fulfillment of promises made before you were born, the manifestation of prophetic words spoken in generations before yours. You are not showing up late. You are arriving exactly when heaven ordained. The delay was protection. The obscurity was training. The silence was strategic. But now the signal has been given, and those who have ears to hear know. You feel it in your chest. You hear it in your dreams. You see it in the timing of things aligning. You know that this is no longer theory. It's time to step forward. And not just for you, because when a chosen one rises, entire territories shift. Entire bloodlines bend toward righteousness. Entire demonic patterns begin to lose legal access. You are not being revealed for applause, you're being revealed for impact. It was never just about your comfort. It was about kingdom movement. That's why the warfare was so personal, why the silence hurt so deeply, why the rejection stung so sharply. It wasn't just life. It was war over your emergence. But here you are, still standing, still burning, still saying yes even with a limp. Chosen one. You're not emerging as a performer. You're stepping forward as a carrier. You hold something sacred. Something heaven is ready to release through you. And though you feel the weight of responsibility, heaven feels the readiness of your surrender. You're not the same person who started this journey. You no longer need approval to obey. You no longer need clarity to trust. You no longer need agreement to walk in purpose. You just need to move. The response window is not closing to punish you. It's closing to position you. Because when heaven declares, now, delay becomes disobedience. And when destiny calls, silence becomes rebellion. You're not being rushed, you're being released. This is that moment. The moment when oil meets assignment. The moment when private obedience becomes public authority. The moment when everything that's been incubating in you begins to pour out of you. No more waiting to be seen. No more shrinking out of false humility. No more apologizing for the light you carry. What heaven has hidden, heaven is now revealing. And your next step is not about perfection. It's about alignment. Don't second guess what God has already confirmed. Don't wait for the crowd to catch up to the call. Don't delay obedience just to protect your image. Step forward, even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, even if you're unsure how it will all unfold. Move with the weight you carry. Move with the fire you've preserved. Move like the one who knows The scroll is open and the assignment is active. Because the time for hiding is over. The time for shrinking is over. The time for waiting is over. Heaven has spoken. Now, earth is waiting. Chosen one. Pause for just one more moment. Let everything you've read settle into your spirit. Let the fire linger. Let the conviction dig deep. Because this wasn't just a message, it was a mirror, a window into who you really are, and a reminder of what heaven still expects from you. You didn't stumble on this by accident. Heaven scheduled this encounter, and now your spirit is accountable for what it heard. But you are not alone. You've stepped into a space built for the remnant, for those like you who were never meant to blend in, but to burn. If this word lit something inside you, don't scroll past it. Like this message as a declaration, I receive it. Let it be your digital amen, an agreement in the spirit that says, this is for me. Or share this message with someone else who's been wrestling in silence. Your obedience to share may unlock their breakthrough. Let your yes ripple. Comment below with these 3 words, I will rise. Let hell hear it. Let heaven witness it. Let the world read it. You're not apologizing for the anointing anymore. You're stepping into it. Subscribe to stay aligned with the sound. This isn't just content, it's a current. A prophetic stream you're meant to stay connected to. Heaven is still speaking. Stay under the sound. And if these messages have become a sanctuary to you, consider sowing into the ground that's been feeding your soul. You're not giving to a voice, you're honoring the oil. You're partnering with the mission to awaken the hidden ones. This isn't the end. It's a divine beginning. Welcome to your unveiling,